Hey, Cancer family. I just finished doing this reading, and honestly, my heart is still processing what came through. I had to sit with these cards for a while before even starting to record because the energy here is so heavy and so important. I know some of you have been asking about those relationships that feel intense but also concerning, and the universe really wanted to address this today. Before I dive in, I want you to know that if anything I share today resonates with your current situation, please reach out to someone you trust. The cards are here to guide us, but some situations need real-world support too. Your safety and well-being matter more than any relationship. So I shuffled the deck asking specifically about Cancer signs who might be dealing with partners showing concerning mental health signs, particularly around self-harm or suicidal thoughts. And wow, the cards that came through are both a warning and a pathway forward. The first card I pulled is Death, and I know that might seem scary given our topic, but hear me out. This card is showing up as card number 13, and in this context, it is not about physical death at all. What Death is telling us is that there is a major transformation that needs to happen in how you approach relationships with people who are struggling mentally. Cancer, you are naturally the caretaker of the zodiac. You want to save everyone. You want to heal everyone. And you absorb other people's pain like a sponge. But Death here is saying that this pattern, this need to fix and save others, especially romantic partners, is something that has to die and transform within you. I can see some of you right now thinking about that person who threatens to hurt themselves when you try to set boundaries. Or maybe someone who uses their mental health struggles as a way to keep you trapped in an unhealthy dynamic. Death is saying that your old way of responding to this, your old pattern of sacrificing yourself to save others, that version of you needs to transform. The energy I am getting is that some of you have been in relationships where you feel like you are walking on eggshells constantly. Every conversation, every boundary you try to set, every time you express your own needs, it gets met with threats or concerning behavior. And because you are Cancer, because you care so deeply, you keep backing down and giving in. But Death is showing me that this pattern is actually enabling the very behavior you are trying to prevent. When we constantly rescue people from the consequences of their actions, when we let fear of their self-harm control our choices, we are not actually helping them heal. We are helping them stay stuck in patterns that hurt both of you. I am seeing that for many of you, there have been multiple relationships with this dynamic. It is like you attract people who need saving, and then you get trapped in these cycles where their mental health becomes your responsibility. Death is saying this cycle has to end, not because you stop caring, but because you start caring in a healthier way. The transformation Death is calling for is learning the difference between supporting someone and enabling them. It is about understanding that you cannot love someone into mental health, and that threatening self-harm to control a partner is actually a form of emotional abuse, even if the person is genuinely struggling. Some of you are going to feel guilty reading this, like you are being selfish for even considering that your partner might be manipulating you. But Cancer, manipulation can exist alongside real mental health issues. Someone can genuinely be in pain and use that pain to control you. Both things can be true. Death wants you to know that choosing your own safety and sanity is not abandonment. Setting boundaries with someone who threatens self-harm is not cruelty. Getting professional help involved instead of trying to be their sole support system is not giving up on them. It is actually the most loving thing you can do. The second card that came through is the Ten of Swords, which appeared as card 61, and this one made me take a deep breath. Ten of Swords is about betrayal, about feeling completely defeated, and about hitting rock bottom. In the context of our reading, this card is showing me the emotional state that many of you are in right now. You feel betrayed because the person you love, the person you have been trying so hard to help and support, is using your love against you. They know that threatening to hurt themselves will make you comply with their demands. They know that your caring nature means you will sacrifice your own needs to prevent them from being in pain. The Ten of Swords is showing me that you feel like you have been stabbed in the back, but the knife is being twisted by someone who claims to love you. And the most painful part is that you cannot even be angry about it, because they frame it as their illness, as something they cannot help. But here is what the Ten of Swords wants you to understand. When you are in this energy, when you feel completely defeated and like there is no way out, that is actually the moment right before liberation. Ten of Swords always comes before the Ace of Swords. The darkest hour is just before dawn. I am seeing that many of you have been carrying this burden alone. You have not told your friends or family what is really happening because you are afraid they will not understand. You are afraid they will judge your partner, or they will judge you for staying. So you suffer in silence, trying to manage an impossible situation by yourself. The Ten of Swords is giving you permission to admit that you are in over your head. It is okay to acknowledge that this situation is beyond what one person can handle. It is okay to say that you are drowning, trying to keep someone else afloat. What I am seeing is that the betrayal you feel is not just about your partner's behavior. You feel betrayed by yourself, too. You feel like you should be stronger, like you should be able to handle this, like giving up makes you a bad person. But Cancer, recognizing that you are human, that you have limits, that is not failure. That is wisdom. The Ten of Swords is also showing me that some of these relationships have completely drained you. You have given and given until there is nothing left. You have compromised your own mental health trying to stabilize someone else's. And now you are both struggling. There is imagery in this card of being left for dead on a battlefield, and that is exactly how some of you feel. But here is the thing about Ten of Swords energy. It looks like an ending, but it is actually a clearing. All those swords in your back, they represent thoughts and beliefs that have been keeping you stuck. And sometimes we need to hit rock bottom before we are willing to pull those swords out and heal. I want you to know that reaching your breaking point does not make you weak. It makes you human. And admitting that you cannot save someone who does not want to be saved, that is not giving up. That is accepting reality. The third card is the Chariot, appearing as card number 7, and this is where the energy starts to shift. The Chariot is about taking control, about direction, about having the willpower to move forward even when the path is difficult. After the death and transformation of your old patterns, after acknowledging the defeat and betrayal you have experienced, now comes the time to take the reins of your own life back. The Chariot is telling you that you have more power in this situation than you realize. I am seeing that many of you feel trapped, like you have no choices, but the Chariot is showing me that you do have choices. You have just been afraid to make them because of what your partner might do. But here is what this card wants you to understand. You are not responsible for controlling another person's actions. You are only responsible for controlling your own. The Chariot often appears when we need to make difficult decisions that require both compassion and strength. In this case, it is about deciding to love yourself enough to set firm boundaries, even if that makes someone else uncomfortable or triggers their threatening behavior. I am getting that some of you need to physically remove yourself from situations where you feel unsafe. The Chariot is about movement, about taking action, about not just sitting there and hoping things will get better on their own. If someone in your life is using threats of self-harm to control you, that is a sign that professional intervention is needed, not romantic intervention. The horses pulling the Chariot represent opposing forces, and in your situation, those forces are your desire to help versus your need for safety. The Chariot is showing you that you can honor both of these needs, but not by staying in a dysfunctional dynamic. You can care about someone and protect yourself. You can want them to get better and refuse to enable their unhealthy coping mechanisms. What I am seeing is that the Chariot is calling you to become the hero of your own story instead of trying to be the hero of someone else's story. You have been so focused on saving them that you forgot you need saving too. The direction this card is pointing you toward is getting support. Real support. Not just from friends who mean well, but from professionals who understand these dynamics. Therapists, counselors, support groups for people who have been in relationships with individuals who have mental health crises. The Chariot is also about boundaries with teeth, not just saying no, but enforcing your no. If someone threatens to hurt themselves when you try to leave or set a boundary, your response needs to be calling emergency services, not giving in to their demands. This removes the incentive for them to use that threat as manipulation. I know this sounds harsh, Cancer. I know your first instinct is to be soft and nurturing. But the Chariot is showing me that sometimes the most loving thing you can do is refuse to participate in someone's self-destructive patterns, even when they try to make you feel guilty for it. The fourth card is the Devil, card number 70, and this one is intense, but necessary. The Devil represents bondage, addiction, toxic patterns, and feeling trapped in unhealthy cycles. In the context of our reading, this card is showing the darker side of what happens when empathy becomes codependency. The Devil is revealing that what feels like love and care might actually be a form of addiction. You are addicted to being needed, to feeling like you are the only thing standing between your partner and disaster. And they are addicted to having someone who will absorb all their pain and chaos without leaving. This card is showing me that both people in this dynamic are trapped. Your partner is trapped in their mental health struggles and their learned pattern of using those struggles to control others. And you are trapped in your need to be the savior, the one who can fix everything with enough love and sacrifice. The Devil energy is what keeps you going back even when you know the situation is unhealthy. It is that voice that tells you that if you just try harder, if you just love them more, if you just find the right thing to say, you can heal them. But the Devil is showing you that this is an illusion. What I am seeing is that some of you have tried to leave these relationships before, but you keep getting pulled back in. Either because your partner escalates their concerning behavior when you try to go, or because your own guilt and fear pulls you back. The Devil represents this cycle of trying to leave, but feeling unable to stay away. The chains in the Devil card look solid, but they are actually loose enough to slip off if we choose to. This represents how these toxic dynamics only have power over us if we allow them to. We always have the choice to walk away, but we have convinced ourselves that we do not. The Devil is also showing me that some of these relationships have isolated you from your support system. When you are constantly managing someone else's crisis, you do not have energy left for other relationships. Your friends get tired of hearing about the drama. Your family gets frustrated watching you suffer. So you end up more and more alone with your partner, which makes you feel even more responsible for their well-being. But here's what the Devil wants you to know. That isolation is part of how these patterns maintain themselves. When you have no outside perspective, when everyone who cares about you is at arm's length, it becomes easier to normalize what is actually abnormal behavior. The addiction aspect of the Devil is showing me that you get a rush from being needed so desperately. When your partner tells you that you are the only thing keeping them alive, that feels meaningful and important. It makes you feel special and chosen. But this kind of specialness is actually a prison. The Devil is calling you to examine honestly whether your desire to help is really about them, or whether it is about what their need for you does for your self-esteem. Are you staying because you genuinely believe you are helping, or because being needed this intensely feeds something broken inside you? This is not about shaming yourself, Cancer. This is about getting real about the psychology underneath these patterns so you can break free. The Devil shows us where we are giving our power away to things that ultimately harm us. The fifth card is the Five of Cups, card number 23, and this one brings such a mix of sadness and hope. The Five of Cups is about loss, grief, and disappointment, but it is also about learning to see what is still possible after everything has fallen apart. In our reading, the Five of Cups represents the grief you will need to process about this relationship. Whether you stay and try to work things out in a healthier way, or whether you choose to leave, there is going to be loss involved. And the Five of Cups is validating that grief. You are going to grieve the person you thought your partner could be if they just got better. You are going to grieve the relationship you imagined having once their mental health improved. You are going to grieve the version of yourself who believed that love alone could heal someone else's pain. But here is what the Five of Cups wants you to see. In the card, there are 3 spilled cups representing what has been lost, but there are also 2 cups still standing behind the figure. This represents what is still possible in your life if you can turn around and see it. I am getting that some of you have become so focused on what this relationship is taking from you that you have stopped seeing what else life has to offer. You have put your own dreams, your own goals, your own happiness on hold while you try to stabilize someone else's world. The Five of Cups is showing me that there is still time to reclaim those parts of your life. There are still people who love you and want to support you. There are still experiences waiting for you that have nothing to do with managing someone else's crisis. The figure in the Five of Cups is wearing a black cloak, which represents how depression and emotional exhaustion can make it hard to see possibilities. When you have been living in crisis mode for months or years, when you have been constantly afraid of what your partner might do, it becomes difficult to imagine a life that feels peaceful and stable. But the Two of Cups that are still standing represent the healthy relationships that are still available to you. The people who love you without needing you to save them. The connections based on mutual joy and growth rather than crisis and codependency. I am also seeing that the Five of Cups wants you to grieve the innocence you have lost through this experience. You now know things about mental health manipulation that you wish you did not know. You understand how someone can use their pain as a weapon. This knowledge is painful, but it is also protective. The river in the Five of Cups represents the flow of emotions, and right now that river feels like it might drown you. But rivers also represent cleansing and renewal. All this pain you are feeling, it is washing away the illusions that kept you stuck in an unhealthy pattern. The bridge in the distance represents the path forward. It shows that there is a way to get to the other side of this grief, but you have to be willing to feel it first. You cannot heal what you do not acknowledge, and you cannot move forward if you keep pretending that everything is fine when it is not. The final card is Three of Cups, card 33, and honestly, when this came up, I almost started crying because it is such a message of hope after everything we have been through in this reading. Three of Cups is about community, friendship, celebration, and support. After all the heaviness of the previous cards, this one shows you what waits on the other side of breaking free from toxic relationship patterns. What I am seeing is when you finally choose your own well-being, when you stop trying to save someone who does not want to be saved, you will rediscover the joy of relationships that actually nourish you. You will remember what it feels like to be with people who support your growth instead of draining your energy. Three of Cups shows me celebrations in your future. Not necessarily big parties, but small moments of joy with people who truly care about you. Conversations where you do not have to manage anyone's emotions but your own. Relationships where you can be vulnerable without it being used against you. I am getting some of you have forgotten what healthy relationships even look like. You have been in crisis mode so long that drama feels normal and peace feels boring. But Three of Cups reminds you there is beauty in stability, excitement in growth, passion in relationships built on mutual respect rather than mutual need. This card is also about chosen family, the people who show up for you not because they have to, but because they want to. I am seeing that as you heal from this experience, you are going to attract people into your life who appreciate your caring nature without exploiting it. Three of Cups often represents female friendships specifically, And I feel like there are women in your life who have been waiting for you to come back to yourself. They have watched you disappear into this relationship, and they are ready to welcome you home when you are ready. What this card wants you to know is that choosing yourself does not mean you will be alone. It means you will be surrounded by people who love the real you, not the version of you that exists to solve their problems. Looking at all 6 cards together, Cancer, what I see is a complete journey from toxic patterns to healthy community. It starts with the death of old ways of relating, moves through acknowledging how much damage has been done, then shows you taking control of your life, breaking free from addictive dynamics, grieving what was lost, and finally finding genuine connection and joy. This is not an easy path, but it is a necessary one. You do not have to walk it alone. There are resources available, people trained to help with exactly these situations, and a community of people who have been where you are and found their way to healthier relationships. If someone in your life is threatening self-harm, please remember the appropriate response is to call emergency services, not to sacrifice your well-being. You are not equipped to prevent someone else's suicide, and it is not your job to be equipped for that. That is what professionals are for. Your compassionate Cancer heart is one of your greatest gifts, but it becomes a curse when you let other people use it against you. Learning to set boundaries is not about caring less. It is about caring more effectively. I love you all so much, and I want you to know that choosing yourself is not selfish. It is necessary. Take care of yourselves, Cancer family, and remember that you deserve love that feels safe, stable, and genuinely supportive.